Welcome to our weekly discussion of all things current in California politics. I'm Walt Gray, joined this week by reporter Emily Hoeven, political columnist with the San Francisco Chronicle. Emily, always good to have you here with our lively, spirited discussions on the weekends. A recent poll just came out, not good for the governor. His poll numbers are at their lowest since he's been governor in the state.
Yeah, that's right. It was not good news for Newsom. He had about 49% disapproval among California voters, and only 44% actually approved of the job that he was doing. And this is a significant drop from last year, I believe about 10 percentage points. And I think a lot of this really has to do with the fact that he has not really been as present in California as he has been kind of jetting around the country, you know, going to China, going to Israel, making all these other trips that kind of suggest that his focus may be on, you know, building up some potential future presidential campaign and not as focused on the state. And then, of course, just as always, there are a lot of issues going on in California that I think that dissatisfaction bleeds over into the governor's rating.
Yeah, it could be the optics. You know, he may be working a lot behind the scenes, but like you said, sort of jetting around the world. One thing he has been doing, obviously, he's fast-tracked the budget or funding for the Sites Reservoir in Colusa and Glenn counties. What's been your feedback on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a kind of a rare example of the government coming together and actually slashing red tape. And we know that so many of these big infrastructure projects have been held up for years, sometimes even decades, due to lawsuits, controversies, lack of funding. And it just makes it really impossible to pursue these projects that are going to be beneficial for the state. And the reservoir would be the first one in years in California to store more rainwater. And having just gone through a really bad drought, I think we all know how important that is. And so this will kind of help accelerate that process. There are going to be lawsuits, there are going to be challenges, but under this new law, it basically limits the amount of time that, you know, courts have to decide that, and it requires expedited documentation. So I think this is something where we are seeing Democrats and Republicans come together and say, okay, this is actually good. We're glad this is moving along quicker. Yeah,
well, there's no doubt that we get into drought years and water is scarce. So I think that's a bipartisan agreement on that. You have a story out about the open-air drug market in San Francisco, which everybody knows is not good. You've also compared it to a major city back east. So what did you find?
Yeah, so I recently went to Philadelphia, and it's actually the town I went to college in, and I visited their open-air drug markets, which are the largest on the East Coast, and was kind of curious about, you know, what's the comparison between San Francisco and Philadelphia. Obviously very different cities when it comes to poverty, homelessness, and things like that. But in Kensington, which is this neighborhood in Philadelphia where the drug markets are located, talking to a lot of folks on the street, they indicated that, you know, of course, we do need better solutions at a systems level, affordable housing, more available and accessible drug treatment, things like that. But there is also an individual level of responsibility and accountability that has to come into play. People have to decide if they want to get sober, if they are motivated to exit that cycle. They have to want to help themselves, given a lot of the help that is available to them. And when I was there, I saw lots of outreach workers, you know, helping them access treatment, housing, things like that. And so I think that's a really good lesson for San Francisco to keep in mind, that part of it is the government responsibility and accountability, but the individual also has to do their part when the help is offered. Yeah.
Okay, Emily, thank you. Always nice to get your perspective on things happening in the state of California. If you'd like to reach out to Emily, you can do so via email, emily.hoeven@sfchronicle.com.